Welcome to the Nth Degree, where we talk about the latest trends, technologies, and innovations that are happening in the health and media spaces. I'm Amanda Prito, and I'm here today with my special guest, Julie Hurwitz Aliaga. I had the pleasure of experiencing the possible event in Miami last week with Julie. You may have seen that CMI produced a POV full of insights. We are here today in the genre of partnerships and innovation to hear from Julie about her key takeaways from the event. Hi, Jolie. How are you?
I'm good, Amanda. How are you?
Good. Great to see you. So, I'd like to dive right in with you. We were in a session together. That was one of, I would say, the most interesting and poignant. So, it was with Shakari Richardson, the Olympic medalist sprinter, and Alexis Ohanian, who we probably all remember from Reddit. And it had a theme of don't stop. And I remember talking to you in the hallway after, and you really loved that. And you felt like there was something there for brands in terms of empowering and engaging and resilience. So, share your thoughts with us.
Yes, I loved this message. I loved sitting next to you because I feel like I could feel your chills coming off of my chills. It was just like this moment of just utter wow factor of during that session. So I love that this message was geared towards women and girls in sports, first of all. Girls drop out of sports at twice a rate of boys by the age of 14, which is really sad, right? And in the US, high school girls still face a gap of 1.3 million fewer opportunities to play sports compared to boys. You know, how many times is that door shut in your face, or has it been shut in your face over the years? And that just beats you down and causes this dropout by the age of 14, right? Despite these gaps, 85% of women who played sports believe the experience positively influenced their careers and their success. So the message of all of that is what I'm saying is like, don't stop, right? I relate this to patients who really feel and know in their bones that something is off. And the patient needs to then feel empowered that even if a door is shut or even if they're not getting the answers that they need, that does not mean that patient should drop out. Same with the caregivers who are really pushing them and empowering them. This could impact their lives, their quality of lives, quite literally. So for me, it was this message of don't let that door shutting or that pit in your stomach stop you. Advocate for yourself, care for yourself. Again, don't stop and ask those questions. Do that research. Be a patient, but also be your own cheerleader and advocate.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for the brands who are listening, I think there's opportunity there, right? I think you already took us into a couple of different veins here, Julie. One is through sports. Sports is an opportunity to connect with your audiences. And also, there is a need to deliver hope, right, in the messaging and in the end goal that we're all here for. So I appreciated that takeaway. I love that, Julie. So let's double down on that a little bit and stay with the area of sports. And from your view, in terms of sponsorships and partnerships, what is your take on how brands can be better interacting and in a more authentic way and engaging with audiences?
Yeah, so sports is a big passion here at See My Media Group. It's definitely been a hot topic for all of us this year. And I think, again, the reason being is the audience is there. 54% of viewers recall pharma ads seen during a sports broadcast, Amanda, versus 32% in general programming. They're really engaged at this time, right? They're cheering on their favorite teams. They're very much engaged in that time that they're sitting there and watching. And 81% of fans trust sponsors, second only to personal recommendations. Like if I were to go to you and say, hey, Amanda, what are you doing for X, Y, and Z? Right. So I think that's really powerful. And then lastly, 49% perceive a sponsor more positively after a sports event. So I know I just threw a ton of stats your and numbers your way, but I think the point of all of this is that we are seeing that these experiences really create a trusted, unique, high impact pathway for health education, patient education, and caregiver education. So, really leaning into this patient and caregiver segment. I don't want to leave the HCPs out, so I'll get to that in a second, but really leveraging sports and experiences to lean into this group of patient and caregivers outside of some of those more traditional tactics. create that opportunity for surround sound brand recognition. And again, for pharma, this might look like what you think of a traditional ambassador program, and then blow that out of the water, right? At the games, have education sessions, really make your audience feel connected with maybe a specific athlete that has a condition that is near and dear to their heart, or something that they themselves went through, or maybe they're a caregiver to somebody with a specific condition. This is really impactful because it allows you as the fan to really have that moment of, this is my favorite player, or this is my favorite team, or this is, my favorite sport. And it puts you in there with them and feeling that connection with them. I think that is why it has been so impactful. And looking at the HCPs as well, again, your doctor's going to their favorite sports event too, right? So are your nurses. So I think we have to look at it a little bit differently there as well as we segment out these different audiences that attend these events.
So, Julie, another message I think that was woven through a lot of the sessions we attended, especially those together, was getting back to real life connection. We're now several years out from the pandemic, and there was a lot of discussion around living in a digital landscape, but also really needing human connection. And I'm wondering if you could expand on that and share your thoughts in terms of how brands can lean into that idea too.
Oh gosh, yes. I love this one. So thank you for asking. This is a very hot topic for me. Very passionate about bringing things back to in real life. I think to be a whole program, we must think about the connections both online and offline. We as human beings are so burnt out from staring at screens, to your point earlier. And we really need to find and strike that balance between IRL in real life and digital campaigns. It's more important than ever. There is something very powerful and contagious, as we saw being at that event together. The energy you feel being around that human to human contact is irreplaceable. That's not to say that we should not still rely on our digital and trusted programs that have been working for us for years now, but how do we supplement that and bring it full circle? These in-person events are still crowd favorites. So we are finding that about 80% of attendees prefer live experiences, and 80% of consumers believe that in-person events are the most trusted way to discover new products and services. So what that means for us is we have a really exciting opportunity now to have that surround sound between our digital presence, but also our in real life experiences as well. It's one of my favorite challenges. It's definitely been a passion of my team over the past year, and I'm really excited to see where it grows in 2027.
Yeah, I love that. And I completely agree. You said something pretty cool when we were together. What's old is new, and what's new is new. And I think what you were getting at is striking that balance between leaning into technology and our digital tactics, platforms, opportunities, but
Yeah.
also keeping that fundamental human connection top of
Yeah.
mind. And I guess if you don't mind doubling down on that too, we talked about belonging and community, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. This has to happen, Amanda. I think, again, you and I talked about this at great length, just being in the presence of these marketers and the inspiring conversations and the panels that we attended. It just lifts you up in a way that is irreplaceable when you're in that room. And I think when we look at our brands and we look at what their goals are, they're not that much different. So, thinking more into these experiential opportunities and the thread that ties that all together is going to be a big goal of ours and should be a big goal of our industry as we move into the latter half of this year. We're working on some really unique partnerships here, even outside of the sports realm. There's a lot of other in person opportunities, and I don't want to give too much away, but there's some really exciting experiences within cultural moments, within really uplifting opportunities for our brands to be involved in, that not only creates these bigger moments that live both digitally and offline in the experiences, but also gives patient and caregivers an opportunity to really get out there and get more ingrained and get more involved with these brands on the ground. I think the lift we're seeing already in this space is tremendous. and the connections that are being made will only continue to soar. I think the most important part of this is patients really seeing themselves and others in person if they can, educating themselves and having these moments to really start conversations potentially online that then lead to these offline moments and these cultural moments. The traditional banner ads, videos, influencer marketing, social, all of these are still the backbone, right? Like that is not going anywhere. But then we're taking those pieces and we're then creating this, like I said before, surround sound recognition for the brand, these surround sound campaigns and educational moments. And I just think that is so powerful. And a brand that can do that and do that really, really well and inspiring is going to win. So that's what drives me and that's what keeps me energized and that's what keeps my team energized.
All right. So, Julie, for our listeners and our viewers, as we close this out and think about the future, what do you think success looks like for brands when we talk about those cultural moments, purpose driven messaging, genuine impact?
Yeah. Yeah, so we need to be flexible. I think within pharma, within our industry, there's always been this feeling that because everything goes through this laborious regulatory process, we can't be flexible. That really is not and should not be the case, especially anymore. Through our research, we are finding, for example, that 38% of HCPs are saying that they're using artificial intelligence on a daily basis, 71% weekly. And 41% of HCPs saying that AI is extremely important, helping them to move along and free up their time to be more strategic towards their patient outcomes. If we are saying that our HCPs are doing this, there is no reason why we, as marketers, as brand leads, should not be leaning into new technologies, should not be leaning into new experiences and finding ways to make that work so that we can think more strategically and thus help with our patient outcomes. So I think again, like let's look at these non-traditional opportunities that are happening. I think we are all over the moon excited about these opportunities. But now how can we push it along even further, push it along even faster? And at the end of the day, just help these patients and help these caregivers live their best lives, feel inspired, feel empowered, all of those buzzwords. That's at the end of the day our goal here and what we're trying to accomplish. So for me, that is the future. Let's just empower patients, empower them to feel educated, empower them to not stop, like I said at the beginning of this discussion.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and sharing your insights, your enthusiasm, and your optimism for the future. With you, anything is possible. I
I
believe
feel
it.
the same way about you, Amanda.
Thank you all for joining us on the nth degree. Remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.